Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Lorna's story. We're going to pick up right where we left off, right in the kind of secreted off storage room in Arlo's house, where you recently defeated some bad people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people.
Some beeple.
All right, Lorna, what do you do?
Before I forget, Lorna wanted to poke around in this guy's mouth to see what he chomped down on before Mira took him out.
Okay, roll investigation.
He was doing something weird. Or maybe it was like a hard candy that he just had in his mouth. 23.
You find a Werther's original. No,
I'll take that.
with a 23, uh, I don't see your roll pop up.
I forgot to connect them. They're connected now, but
Oh,
I
how dare
promise
you.
you it was
I believe you.
23.
I just was looking for it. Okay, so with a 23, you find, like, you open the guy's mouth, and then you see
Oh.
in the rear molars there is some, like, black-brown residue on the back of his teeth, and one of his teeth is missing.
Ugh. Yeah. Uh-huh. Um, is it magic? Or is it? It's probably some sort of poison substance, if I had to guess.
With a 23 investigation, you cannot tell. It's going to require more work than that.
Well, I mean, I have my magic eyes. I was just wondering if it was magic immediately or not.
You cannot tell. There is no sense
Okay.
of magic from the substance.
Well, after like she pokes around in his mouth, she'll look at Mira and say, "You said that you could ask him questions, didn't you? At some point."
Tomorrow I can. I don't have the spell ready
Right.
right
I
now.
mean, I don't really think this has much to do with us. And she kind of gestures to her group. In fact, if you wouldn't mind keeping us out of the disclosure of what happened here, I'd actually appreciate it.
What do you mean?
The Marigard has a kind of they frown upon taking on work that doesn't come through them. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see.
So, I feel free to take all the credit for whatever happened here today.
Well, as part of getting you paid, I'm gonna have to claim your assistance in some way. But I could instead take some funds from the temple's reserves, but it would be less.
She kind of pouts and looks at the rest of the group like what are they thinking? Is it worth the risk?
Um, you can have a discussion with them.
She'll pose that question.
Tier says it might be better to be safe than sorry in all practice.
Hmm. What does Lorna know the repercussions are for taking work outside of the Marigard's negotiation? Is that like losing your spot as a contractor?
Uh, you roll a history check.
Is it a big deal? Terrible. 12. Strong start, Lorna.
You vaguely remember that one of the many reasons that contractors are discouraged from taking side jobs without the Marigard's approval is the Marigard's policies and neutral status can't protect you.
Right, and this seems like it might have something to do with the war between Aurelia and KO, if I'm putting my pieces together correctly. I think Lorna would just sigh and say, "Let's do this smartly and keep us off the record, if you wouldn't mind."
All right. The best I can do then from the temple's funds is 600 gold.
Sounds great.
Hmm. And she like reaches down and she fireman lifts up the body of their
Oh,
leader up onto her back and
nice.
she says, all right, I'm gonna go stow this in a quiet place outside the temple, and then in the morning I'll ask its questions, which will have nothing to do with any of you.
Right, of course.
Just follow me, if you don't mind, back to the temple where I can secure the funds.
Mm-hmm.
And Mira heads out of the door that is like through the armoire with the body of this man, as she does.
The picture of like a 3-foot tall woman doing that is very amusing to me.
She appears to be remarkably strong for her size.
I mean, as she's leaving, can I look at that Vanacite crate? Is it just open?
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, we're gonna take some of that.
Okay. You see that
Like,
the crate of Banasite has numerous pouches nestled into like holding containers in the crate.
Uh-huh.
How much do you take?
How much would how many could I approximate? Like just at a glance, like how many would I estimate would be in that crate?
12.
Lorna's smart. 12? Okay. I'll take 2.
Okay. You collect 200 gold worth of Banasite.
Fuck yeah. 1 second. Let me add that. Add custom item. 200 GP of Banacite. Nice. And I'm sure Skolnick grabs some, but, you know, we're not going to get greedy. And then she'll scurry out with everybody else, presumably.
Hold on. Yeah. Your party can make their way out of the building. Let's go ahead and go back to just the open splash as you head your way towards the Temple of Melisandre. You catch up to Mira, who has the body across her shoulders. She's like pulled the hood down over his face. It is not obvious that she's carrying a corpse. She could be carrying a drunk or somebody who's asleep. And you're walking by the outskirts of the town where you don't run into too many people. And based on just your passive insight, Mira carrying someone who appears to be unconscious is not new.
Right. And I'm sure they have enough faith in her to know she's not up to no good.
That seems to be accepted. And it seems as though Mira is accustomed to the look of someone who's doing something they're supposed to be doing, which prevents anyone from asking any questions.
I wish I had that in real life.
It's a knack.
The illusion of knowing what I'm doing.
Yes. So, Mira's making her way to the temple. You're following her. Is there anything that you wish to do or talk about on your way there?
Nope.
Okay, then you arrive at the temple in short order. And as Mira goes out to the graveyard on the side of the temple, she returns in just a few moments and she says, Right, all right. Again, thank you very much. If you wouldn't mind just coming with me into the actual proper, I'll get the funds from the tithes and the coffers. And she goes into the Melisandre proper.
Yeah, I'll follow.
As she does, roll me a perception check.
Is she gonna gank me? I just assume that's what's going to happen whenever you ask for a perception check. 11.
Don't worry about it. You watch as Mira goes up behind the altar, out to the side, and then through a door, and then she's gone for a few moments. A moment passes, and then Skolno appears next to you. She holds out something in her hand for you.
Is it a Banacite pouch?
It's a couple of them.
I love her. Okay, Lorna won't even make eye contact. She'll just shove them in her bag of holding.
There's another moment's pause, and then Skolno says, Do you know who that was?
She said what?
Do you know who that was?
Lorna shakes her head. No?
That
Should
guy. You didn't recognize him?
Lorna blinks. No, have we met him before?
Someone who looked a lot like him.
Can Lorna think back? Did he seem recognizable at all?
Roll a history check.
How many bags did I get from her, by the way?
2 more.
Oh my god, terrible. I rolled an 11 history check.
Seeing the lack of recognition on your face, Skolna just lets out a small sigh. The courier. The fake courier? It looked just like him, or close.
Like, they could be related?
She nods.
Or clones? That's disconcerting.
She
what?
nods.
If my theory about them being part of the K and War effort is wrong, that's weird. Or they're connected somehow? Are you putting pieces together that I'm not understanding?
She shakes her head. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
Is your friend part of the war?
She could be. I'm sure she smuggled arms.
Well, we know that.
Right. So it wouldn't not make sense for her to be involved. She might have her fingers in this and not in it. It was just a coincidence that we happened upon it. You don't think it'll be, like, a problem if Mira talks to this guy, like...
Skolna shakes her head.
Yeah, what would he say? Would he even know? I'm just...
He looked
unsettled.
Like him, but he didn't know you.
True. It's just a weird coincidence, I guess. For now.
I don't believe in coincidences.
And I don't either. I'm just trying to make myself feel better.
Skolna looks around the temple as Mira's heading back. She just seems to vanish from your side as Mira approaches.
Okay. Was it right for me to assume that the additional 2 pouches would be 200 gold pieces more?
Yeah, each pouch had,
Banasite?
it seems like 100 gold of Banasite
Nice.
with it.
Okay, so I have it recorded properly.
Mira approaches with a small burlap-like pouch that looks like it was once maybe a container for some ingredient or baking material, and she holds the pouch out to you. It's a little more than I first thought. Maybe a few gold more, but it's all I can offer if I'm keeping it out of the mayor's hands.
I appreciate your discretion.
Well, here at the Temple of Melisandre, we're not the ones to judge. Just help when we can.
Right. Lorna will take the offered gold.
Okay, so you can add to your inventory 633 gold pieces.
Woo! 633. Can I just divide that really quick right now so I don't forget to later?
Sure.
That is 105 gold and 5 silver for everybody.
Okay. 105 gold and 5 silver per team member. A moment.
No worries. I'd rather have it parsed out than forget to do it later. Or do it wrong later.
I almost put it in the bird's pocket. That wouldn't have made sense.
Lisa, hold my money.
Yeah.
No one's gonna pickpocket the bird. Get their hand bit off.
Yeah, not if they're, smart about things, I guess. Okay. When you parse out the gold, Lilith looks at the gold in her hands. And she seems thoughtful. And she closes her fingers around it and she puts it away. She looks up at you and she says, I didn't really get much of a chance to actually go out on mission with anyone before garbage happened.
Right.
Feels weird.
Getting paid for your work feels weird.
Getting paid and not taking it feels weird.
Well, as long as you're part of this team, you're going to get your share.
She nods and she puts the gold away. All right. I guess one can get used to that.
Buys a lot of beer. It adds up. And some cool things.
She nods solemnly. You suddenly get the impression that that's probably the most gold Lilith's had in her hands.
Oh.
Ever.
Which is a little sad because she's from a noble family.
Yeah. She,
Yeesh.
puts it away a little reverently, and is not making eye contact.
Right. And Lorna flashes back to being a tween and getting that as pocket change to spend on a weekend.
Yeah.
Because daddy loved me. Ugh.
Perhaps too much.
Well, so she'll look at Mira. Well, good working with you. I hope you can get Arlo squared away and back into his house. After it's cleared out, of course.
Oh, once that's taken care of, that won't be a problem. I will be getting the mayor involved with that, but again, you and your friends won't be mentioned. And she looks at
Right.
Anscombe. You have changed, haven't you? And Anscombe just kind of subtly nods and says, only for the better, I think. I hope. I try. No, I think this did right by you. Best of luck on the road. If you're out of here tonight, then it's been a pleasure seeing you again. If you're here in the morning, well, maybe stop by and I'll have a blessing ready for you.
You make a compelling offer?
It's not an argument. It's you free to take it or
Exactly.
not.
We'll probably see you in the morning then, but I'm sure we'll be out of here sooner rather than later.
Fair enough. And she just kind of smiles at your entire group and then turns to head back towards her altar. And the people that have been kind of just milling about towards the front of the temple, townsfolk that look like they're waiting for alms or prayers or whatever the purposes they're here in the Temple of Melisandre, which leaves us to you. And what are you doing, Lorna?
She'd look back at the group. Well, I meant what I said. We should probably head north soon, so I guess this might be our last evening here. She kind of looks more meaningfully at Anscombe. Is there anything you have left that you want to do?
No, this has gone much better than I thought it would. Frankly, I'm a little surprised we stayed this long, but I'm glad we have. I mean, it's lunchtime now. We could probably find something to kill the time and then take another easy evening.
That sounds like a great idea.
Enjoy all the comforts that Siren's Respite has to offer, which means alcohol.
And fish.
Plenty of that. We don't have to go fishing, but we can enjoy fish. And you hear Nore say, maybe less fish for me, thanks. I've had plenty.
I can't say I disagree.
Well, I mean, there's always cow. And you and your group kind of meander your way out of the temple. And you can take this afternoon and evening to do as you like, or as quickly as you like. We can move on to other things. It's up to you.
Lorna would, enjoy a day. She wants to spend time with Anscombe's dad. I don't have anything planned. Like I don't have like a conversation she wants to have, but like it's their last evening, so she wants to like, still build a good impression. And it's
Okay.
Ansko's last time seeing him for a while too, presumably.
You head toward Bulkrin's house on the far eastern shore of Siren's Lagoon. You see it as it was when you were last there, except outside you see they have the skeleton of what looks like a small boat that is being put together. Mindy is in the process of applying thick black pitch to wooden planks that are being set on the skeleton, and you see Bulkrin is nearby, and it looks like he has a pot of this thick black tar, basically, that's boiling over a fire. The smell is not pleasant. And as you're approaching, he looks up at you all and he just says, "Hey there."
Hello, we're ready to settle in for the day, I suppose. We were thinking of heading out tomorrow morning.
Ah, well, you're welcome to relax, lounge about, have a drink.
That's the plan.
There's hot meat over the fire inside.
Yeah. Party at Bulkrin's house.
You, in making that connection, you see that next to his boiling cauldron of tar, like on a wooden stump next to it, he has like a tall mug of mead that's bubbling over. And you see Mindy has one as well, and it looks like they're just passing the time getting drunk and working on a boat.
Nice.
So, with his direction, the front door is open to allow air in and out, and it's, fairly cool outside, but warmer inside. And as you enter and look, there is, sure enough, a large, just brass basin sitting in the fireplace. And it smells richly of honey. It smells impossibly good, better than it probably you don't think you've ever had this pleasant an experience smelling mead before. But as you enter, Anscombe says, "Oh, I miss that smell."
For what it's worth, Lorna is going to try, like, she saw them getting drunk and working, so she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to make a great impression. So she's going to do the same exact thing, and she's going to try to help them with their boat. For the afternoon into the evening. Whether she's actually any help is that remains to be seen.
Okay.
She will definitely partake in meat as well, because when in Siren's Respite.
Hold on a moment. All right, as you get yourself a big stein of mead, and as you sit down, and without a word, Mindy passes you a brush and a small basin of this pitch to start just applying it to the side of the boat. And if you look confused for even a moment, she just says, "It doesn't have to be perfect, just get it on there."
Okay, I could do that. Lorna would take an extra brush for Requiem. And an extra brush for her mage hand. And then one for her.
Okay.
She's like, I'm going to triple my efforts.
Okay. While you're out there, it's impossible not to just get caught up in the little conversations that Mindy and Bulkrin are having. And it's mostly Bulkrin just telling stories of being on the water. And also of other and old catches he's had while fishing the river rim. Bulkrin and his old fishing partner, a man that he referred to as Finn, they used to always keep a catch ledger, a small notebook where they track the size, type, and location of their best catches. And one day, their ledger disappeared, and with it, their notes on a particularly lucrative fishing spot along the river. And with no memory of the exact spot, they keep trying to piece together clues, combing the river's edge for hours, but they keep coming up short. And to make matters stranger, someone in town, in Siren's Respite, suddenly started catching unusually large hauls and referring to an area that sounded a lot like where Bulkern and Finn used to fish in. And convinced someone gotten a hold of their notes, they began a silent investigation, talking with other fishermen, and even beginning to lay small traps along the river to see maybe if they could catch whoever was sneaking out to their spots. And the culprit turned out to be someone that they knew, but they would never have suspected.
Was it Arlo?
No. It was someone particularly gifted in herbalism who would fish for ingredients that she couldn't find on land for tinctures and healing solvents. It was Mira.
Oh, shit. She stole their book. Maybe
yeah.
she found it.
She found their book, yeah.
Wow. That's fucked up, Mira. Lorna will remember this.
Do you have a visible reaction to that being...
Yeah, I think she's just, like, mind blown.
Well, like, seeing that... Would Lorna have been interested in that story?
Like, she is so determined to, like, endear herself to Bulkrin that she's, like, every word he says, she's ready to, like, listen to and respond in kind. Like, she keeps the conversation going.
He would have immediately, like, dove into the next one with him and Finn. Or every morning they would head out before dawn, instead out onto Siren's Lagoon, onto the actual lake, but on the edges, navigating the mist-covered lake to cast their nets in the shallow waters. But then something strange had started happening, more so than just the monsters out in the center of the lake. No matter where they would cast, they'd keep pulling up old, rusted trinkets, a locket with a faded portrait, a child's, toy boat, and even a delicate silver ring. And they would joke about their haunted catch to the other townsfolk of Siren's Respite, but Bulkrin would start to feel uneasy. And he would swear in the mornings he'd hear a faint humming out on the lake, like an old lullaby. And he kind of became half convinced some of these items were coming from an underwater graveyard, disturbed by something unknown. The dilemma has made them consider whether they should continue fishing in these waters, or maybe pay attention to what this music that seems to be coming out of nowhere. And he doesn't actually, like, give you any finish to this story. And you realize it's because he's asking your opinion.
Oh. He wants to know what she thinks is happening?
Yeah.
She's like, ghosts. It has to be.
He just looks at you. Does my fishing out there disturb them, or would it matter? Would they mind?
Does he seem like genuinely
Roll an
seeking
insight
advice
check.
from her?
Roll
Or
an
is he
insight
just
check.
pulling her leg? Alright. I've been rolling so badly this session. 15.
Bulkrin's hard to read. You can't tell.
Uh-oh.
He might be sincere. He might be messing with you. It's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm. I think Lorna would, I'm not really this might be a consult your local cleric question. I have a ghost dog, but I'm not actually very well versed in ghosts.
Where is Requiem right now?
He's helping paint the boat. He has the little brush in his mouth.
Okay.
Maybe you didn't notice him before.
Yeah, Bulkrin didn't notice because he was on your belt. So when you say I have a ghost dog, Bulkrin like leans back and looks, and he sees Requiem awkwardly tilting his head up and down.
Yeah.
By the sticks, that's a dog and a ghost.
Yeah, a ghost dog.
Requiem like just turns and looks at Bulkrin, pure white eyes on like silhouetted ethereal form, and you see Bulkrin's face just like drains of color a little bit.
Oh, no, he's a good boy.
Sure he is, of course.
I found him in the Shadowfell, and he really likes gravy.
Oh. Well. Any dog would. And he looks
What?
so confused and a little concerned. Rid of omens and such, but all right.
Well, he's a good one. He's an excellent omen. You see him and you get 1,000 years of good luck.
Huh. Fair enough.
Plus, he's helping paint your boat.
That is very clean strokes. It's not painted, by the way. It's just pitch. We gotta seal the ship from waters and such. But he's doing a mighty fine job, clearly.
Right.
Anyway, and he like sits back next to the cauldron, resuming what he was doing. And then Mindy starts telling of her own story, talking about a curse.
Oh boy.
She says, local legend says that one particular part of the lake is blessed, and whoever fishes there will have good luck for the rest of the season. And, you know, people have tried to convince me to try it, even though it's a bit risky and a bit farther from shore out towards, you know, where things get a little dicey. But whatever I've heard, whenever someone starts fishing out there, strange things happen. Boat springs leaks, favorite rods snap. People just drop things overboard. And from what I've heard, after a week of that bad luck, maybe they're misinterpreting. You know, they're getting big catches, but the lake demands something in return. Some of the older fishermen, they talk about, you know, you might need to pay your respects to the lagoon. Maybe make an offering. Anyway, I thought of that, and I tried it. Last week. Caught the biggest sturgeon I'd ever seen. And she's like looking at Bulkrin as she says that. And Bulkrin seems unimpressed as he keeps stirring the cauldron. And then she looks over at you, and there's something to curses and blessings, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
So, maybe there is a spirit that looks over this lagoon. Maybe one we should appease next time, eh?
It couldn't hurt.
Superstitious lot, yar.
Lorna's just like, I've encountered enough crazy shit to know, you know, probably. That sounds right.
You spend the afternoon with Bulkrin and Mindy, and you and your team just lounging about. Much of your team just drinking and relaxing, basically. It's a pleasant evening. The suns are low over the treetops. It's beautiful out here. And eventually, the boat has so much pitch slathered over it that Bulkrin says, all right, any more and it'll be too heavy to float.
Lorna will feel a sense of accomplishment.
I think they appreciated your company more than your help on the boat.
Probably.
But
it's not like they couldn't do it themselves.
Yeah, no one gives you a hard time. And, I mean, the boat effectively does get covered in pitch. So, the job is finished.
Does Bulkrin like me? I have to know. I'm trying so hard.
Roll an insight check?
Hooray. Please roll good. Oh my god. I've been, like, the rolls are getting worse and worse. That is at 11. Oof.
You take a glance at Bulkrin, and he's an unreadable old orc.
I think half of the flavor is that she's so nervous that she's, like, someone who she might normally be able to read is just She's just misinterpreting everything out of her own anxiety. She's like, oh, I can't tell. Ah.
As you're struggling with this, Bulkrin stands up. He puts the lid on the cauldron and he says, "All right, that has to sit overnight. Who's ready for dinner?"
Lorna raises her hand.
Perfect. The sort of appetite I can respect in a young woman. And Bulkrin walks to the side of the house, and you watch as he begins shoving, like he picks up a spade, and he begins shoveling this dirt that's in this narrow dirt pile. And you didn't notice it before, but there is thin tendrils of smoke pouring up out of the ground where he's digging.
Lorna's just like, ooh, peasant food. She has no idea what this is. She doesn't say that out loud. She just thinks it.
Okay.
Like, how quaint.
Roll a nature check for me.
This is the homesteading arc. I'm rolling great on rolls that don't matter. That's a 21. Unless this food is crucial to the plot.
One moment. One moment, please. My note is gone. Okay. Yeah. There is a sudden surge of the most savory, succulent smell you have ever smelled. It is rich and deep, and it fills your sinuses with just the imagery of the most rich and juicy meat you can possibly imagine. As suddenly he lifts up this wooden and metal board that dirt cascades off of, and on a hook and chain lifts up the widest rack of meat on rib that you've ever seen. And it is brown and gold and dripping with what looks like a sauce, and it smells so strongly that you cannot help but your mouth begins watering instantaneously. You don't even know what this is.
She's just like, wow, peasant food is the best. She
as
does not say that out loud. I cannot preface this enough.
Yeah, even with that 21 in the nature check, you don't know what this is. You've heard of people
eat it.
You've heard of people smoking things underground, but you've never seen something like this. And as he lifts it up, Anscombe says, "He's got a rack of emberhide."
What?
And with a 21 in nature check, emberhide is a name you know. It is an exotic bison. It's not from around here. They are desert-dwelling...
Imported.
Yeah, basically. It's a desert-dwelling buffalo sort of creature. That's famous because with the name emberhide, they have been known and seen to be aflame, but not be bothered by it. Their hides are so naturally tough, magically so, that it is thought they were born of the plane of fire and herded here by early settlers who crossed the planar border. Emberhide buffalo, which is usually what they're called, is an emberhide buffalo, is the full name, are exotic, almost only found in eastern Aurelia, and the fact that there is some meat of it here, you cannot help but feel a little bit astounded by because of how exotic it is.
Yeah, Lorna's never mind, this is not peasant food. This is the exact opposite of
that. As he's pulling this meat up out of the ground, Bulkrin looks over and he says, "I had a fine trade for all that shark meat we pawned off this morning, if you recall."
Yeah, this is impressive.
Be ready for the finest meal you've had, ever. And
Lorna believes that's probably true.
He lifts up this huge rack of meat onto the chains out of the ground, and he just carries the whole thing into the house. It's a lot of meat. Like, it looks like easily 60 pounds of buffalo meat.
Lorna's gonna nudge Anscombe and say, did you eat like this frequently when you were growing up?
Define frequently.
Like, is it normal for your dad to just get this kind of meat?
After a particularly successful fishing run, sometimes we'd have some exotic stuff. Never. Well, I have had Emberhide a couple times, but it's been a while. Normally, the most exotic thing we had was courser.
Oh.
Yeah. There's one thing you should know about the Frost family, and that is, we like meat? We like meat.
I could tell.
Meat.
Just by she kind of gestures at him. I mean, you don't get that tall without eating meat.
My dad's at work.
Oh, that helps.
But I appreciate your observation.
Finger guns.
Okay, let's go eat till we hurt.
Okay.
You go into the Anscombe, to the Frost household, and if you eat the Emberhide meal
yes.
that Volkrin has provided you, one, it's the best meat you've ever eaten, and that includes any of the fine, fancy dinners that you had in Saris. Anything like that, this meat that was smoked beneath dirt on the side of the lake.
No.
You gain 25 temporary hit points.
Bro, that's the amount of hit points I have right now.
Well, it's now you have that temporary as well.
Doubled my hit points.
For the next 24 hours, you also have advantage on strength and constitution saving throws.
Time to get into a tussle.
That's literally what it feels like. The meat is so empowering. You feel like just rejuvenated and energized. The last effect the Emberhide meat gives you from eating it is you have resistance to fire damage for 24 hours.
Oh, shit. That's cool. Alright, I'll light myself on fire.
I'm going to say, even with the effects of Emberhide meat, I don't recommend lighting yourself on fire.
Okay, fair enough.
However, if you do find yourself fighting a dragon, this might be the right meal for it.
We eat and make merry.
Yeah, you have a great night. Your whole party, everyone is in a great mood, having a good time. The alcohol, the food, it all lets everyone just feel very comfortable.
I'm waiting for that butt. No butts?
No butts.
Hooray! What a nice change of pace.
I know, right? You have a pleasant evening, and then the evening ends to the night, and you go to bed, and then that's that.
Woohoo!
Do you go sleep at the Riverside Inn? Or the Lakeside Inn?
How does Anscombe seem like he wants to stay in his home, or does he seem like eager to get back to, she'll do what he seems to be inclined to do?
Anscombe at the moment, after eating and after all the alcohol and spending time, like, Volkrin goes to bed pretty early. So you find yourself and your party just in the Frost living room around the fire, everyone relaxing, sipping mead, and just kind of that warm, heady, just surreal feeling of being comfortable.
The surreal feeling of being comfortable.
Yeah.
How accurate.
So Anscombe, like, you ask if he wants to stay here, and Anscombe would say, well, there's probably not a whole lot of room for us to sleep here.
She just shrugs.
We just, we have that room at the inn for at least tonight.
We may as well utilize it.
And so you head back to the Lakeside Inn, as does the rest of your party, because, like Anscombe said, the only other
Yeah.
room in the Frost household is used by Mindy. So
Fair enough.
you would basically be on bedrolls on the floor.
And I don't get the sense that Tierra and Nori are going to Mindy's room.
No, that doesn't happen.
You're right.
So we progress time to the next morning, where as you awaken and like you feel just as rejuvenated. You don't feel like you had any alcohol at all.
That's great.
You
No
had
hangover.
You had a great night's sleep. You got your long rest. You still have all those temporary hit points.
I love that.
And as you're getting ready to go, in the front, on the front room, in the first floor of the Lakeside Inn, you see Bulkrin is standing, like, near the bar. I figured you all would be making your way out of town today, based on what you were saying yesterday.
You're right. We are.
I'm not a man of many words, and many of the ones that I do say are not very flowery or pretty. But you are. And should one day you wish to be a Frost, you have my blessing.
Lorna is like fully red now. The entirety of her, all visible skin is just completely flushed. She's very flustered.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And I just hope my boy is as good a man to you as I hope he can be. And he looks at Anscombe as he says it, and Anscombe is very, like, he's blushing.
Yeah, equally.
Yeah, and he just says, thanks, Pa. You couldn't, like, well... He, like, there's so much Anscombe seems to want to say.
Just cannot manage to do so.
And Vulcan just pulls Anscombe into a hug.
Oh.
A long one. And then when he finally lets go of him, he looks to the rest of your party and he says, I'm impressed with the lot of you. I only seen you three test your mettle. But you don't get to be a part of this sort of group without having some real skills about you. And from what I've seen, or haven't seen, and he, like, looks at Skolna, who is just standing there, who looks like me, like, just out of the blue. Don't think I haven't noticed what knack you have, Thor. Skolna, for the first time ever, you see Skolna break eye contact. Like, actually look maybe a little abashed. I hope to see
Man,
y'all.
this guy has superpowers.
He's got some serious perception to him. He looks to you, and he says, I hope to see y'all around the town again. You always have a place at my table and a seat by the fire. And he just nods, kind of tugs his coat on a little tighter and says, well, I got fishing to do.
Right. See you soon, hopefully.
I hope so. And he points at Anscombe. You do me proud already.
Oh.
And as Bulkrin, like, has turned and is leaving, you hear Anscombe sniffle just a little bit.
Oh, Lordo just kind of like bump up against him, pat his back. Ready to go?
Yep. Yes, I am ready to get out of here. To the Verdant Grove?
Yep. Next stop. Maybe less of a warm welcome.
Oh, I bet so. Also, much more navigating. This is out in the middle of the woods, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yes, it is. That wasn't a question.
Well, I mean, I assumed, but I have no idea actually where specifically it is, so we might need to ask for directions.
We're gonna have to. And if I remember right, the people we're gonna have to ask for directions are not gonna want to give it to us.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Right.
Well, I'm like the present.
As you all begin making your way out of the Lakeside Inn, out of Siren's Respite, we return to the forest. The river's edge, like the river Rhyme, does not actually run smoothly into the forest beyond here. You could follow it, but it's clear it doesn't go the sort of direction you need it to get northward far enough into where you're trying to go.
I mean, what else is a ranger for besides ranging?
Tyr, like, looks at you and he says, well, I can navigate a forest. My skills are in coast and mountains.
Well, you might as well broaden those horizons.
Right, because
Come
I
on.
knew I was going to be doing that when I was studying to be a ranger, right? Just everywhere in the world, just learn how to navigate all of it. That's right. Okay.
You need to learn how to be multifaceted, you know.
Did you know that most of Amaranth is covered in water, which means that most of Amaranth is coastline? Did you know that? I thought I picked pretty well for most things.
Did you know I know spells that aren't necessarily in transmutation, which is my specialty?
No.
Well, that. So, you know.
Great, okay. Cast a spell that takes us where we're going.
I can't do that.
Right, okay. So maybe shut your big mouth while I get, looking to see where it is we're trying to get to.
Lorna shuts her big mouth.
Tier begins looking at the various tree lines and landmarks. He's trying to sort out how to get northward at a reasonable pace. Big mouth. Just. He rolled a 27. So, despite the grumbling,
so out of his element.
Yeah, despite the grumbling, Tier immediately finds a game trail, and he's like, "Oh, it's this way."
Lorna doesn't say anything, but she doesn't think she has to.
Mm-hmm. He begins leading the way into the Rimwood. It is pleasant, especially right near Siren's Respite as you begin making your way into the trees. Please, if you wouldn't mind, roll me a D100.
Okay. 97.
Okay.
That means it's smooth sailing with no trouble, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I love that.
Hang on. Okay. You make your way into the forest, making your way along these trails, and a lot of them are splitting in all sorts of different ways. The forest is comfortably alight with all sorts of the sounds of wildlife, and just the breeze that passes through it is remarkably pleasant. Your travel through the woods, this is the sort of thing that would make someone love hiking or want to do more of it. You come across a glade, or rather you break out of the tree line into a small glade. And as you do, lots of small floating lights of various colors, from blue to green to silver to gold. They bob and weave through the trees, and at first they just seem to be maybe fireflies or even just fairy lights, the sort of things that you would see in peaceful glades and meadows. But as you're approaching, making your way through the trees, trying to avoid any sort of confrontation or interaction, one of the lights gets particularly close, and you realize a sprite is floating near you.
Is that bad?
Not necessarily. You know that sprites can be harmless, they can be fun-loving, they can like to play tricks, but usually whenever they are playing tricks, it's not from a visible standpoint. So the fact that you can see this sprite tells you that it's likely not out for trouble. And as you're walking, it flits closer to you, and you hear it speak in a chiming, musical voice. Answer a riddle and earn a gift from the heart of the forest. Guess wrong, and you shall find your feet tangled in brambles until dawn.
Okay.
I have rivers but no water, forests but no trees, and cities but no people. What am I?
Anscombe looks at the rest. Anscombe. I'm Anscombe now. Lorna.
Let's hear your Anscombe impression, please.
Hello. Don't make me do that again.
Okay.
She looks at the rest of the party. Lorna's smarter than Penn. Can I roll an intelligence check?
It's a riddle.
Oh no.
Do you not have any guesses?
Can I make a guess without, like, Lorna saying outwardly? Can I just tell you how far off I probably am?
The DM isn't going to give you an answer, but
I know.
You can talk it out with your party.
Lorna will look at them. Rivers, but no... What?
Water.
Had it riddles real
Rivers but no water.
Rivers?
Forests but no trees, and cities but no people.
Mountain?
Tier looks at you and he says, I'm not sure what it is, but I know it isn't that.
Okay, what's your idea?
Well, think about it. If it's got rivers but no water, and it's got forests but it doesn't have any trees, and it
No,
has
I heard the
cities...
riddle, Tier.
Right. Well, think about it. If it has these things, but it doesn't have what they are...
Uh-huh.
What could be something that has these things but isn't them?
Don't know, Tier. That's why I'm asking you.
The
Listen,
NPC
Lorna
is
may
not
become
going to give
canonically
you the
bad
answer.
at riddles. I'm not good at riddles.
I understand. You can roll an intelligence check.
Hooray. $24.
With a 24, you consider something that has rivers but doesn't have any water, that has forests and doesn't have any trees, and has cities but there's no people. Those maybe are labels.
A map?
When you say that out loud, you see the sprite just kind of frowns and says, all right. Well, like the Fae always say, one always keeps their word, unless there's a loophole. And then the sprite hands you a vial.
Thank you.
The vial is filled with a pale blue fluid that glitters, as if there are small sparkles that transfer through it, but then they disappear. It's like looking at dust in sunlight. It's very pretty. But you don't know what it is.
I could identify it.
You could.
I'm going to.
It is a vial of moon dew.
Moon dew. What
Upon-
that do, though?
Upon drinking it, it gives you a short rest.
Oh. Okay. She pockets it. Well, that was nice of them.
You hear tinkling laughter coming from the other side of this glade, and you see that sprite, which was kind of the silvery color, is dancing or playing. It's hard to tell, moving quickly around other lights on the far side of the glade.
They're playing tag.
Maybe.
Is what Lorna decides.
Okay. But you continue onward. That is the encounter that you rolled.
Thanks. Now my brain hurts.
It wasn't that hard a riddle. Come on.
I'm just not good at those. I don't think I'm particularly dumb, but I also don't think I'm particularly smart. So a 20 intelligence wizard is hard to play sometimes.
That's fair. Okay, you continue onward through the trees, following Tier
Hooray.
and his guidance as you make your way through the Rimwood. As you navigate, I need you to roll me a d4.
I can do that. That I know I can do. 3.
A 3. Okay, roll me another d100, please.
Okay. 86.
Okay.
That's always a good sound.
Okay. All right. You and your party continue on making your way through the trees. Please roll me a perception check.
I can do that. Good roll. 24.
With a 24, you notice a couple things. The first thing you notice... A moment, I'm looking for my... There it is. The trees have grown denser. Much deeper green as you're making your way through the forest. The trails that Tier is leading you through, well, they are still trails heading northwards. It is harder to keep stable footing. There's a lot more roots. A lot of the roots are propped up over the dirt as if winding amongst each other, as if the trees were battling each other for access to water and sunlight. The next thing you notice or hear is a voice.
Oh, great.
It seems to creep through the boughs and branches of the trees above you. It's an invitation. It's not in common. What language do you speak?
Not Sylvan. Common, Draconic, Elvish, Infernal, Undercommon.
Roll me a wisdom saving throw. It is a
Fantastic.
charm effect. If you have
I have advantage. Thanks, half elf heritage. 23.
With a 23, you hear, all of you look so weary. Why don't you stay and dance with me beneath the moonlight?
Thank you for the invitation, but no thank you. She is going to shepherd her party
Hold on.
to keep moving.
You are not the only one who needed to make a wisdom save. Okay. Above it all, above the breeze that you hear, it's music that plays through the treetops. And to its swaying beat, you suddenly see Skolna.
Oh.
Suddenly swaying, her head high, looking up to the treetops. And you see next to Skolna, and suddenly collecting Skolna's hands in her own, is Nore.
This is kind of like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
The two of them are dancing, which for the first moment is likely just entertaining, except they begin to step off the forest path.
No.
Lorna hurries
after them She's cataloging the image of Skolna dancing, because this will probably never happen again.
Her
And
eyes
she-
are wide open, wider than you've ever seen them, violet and pure, staring up. And she is lost and entranced, as is Nore. Her own blue eyes completely looking up at the treetops. The two of them waltzing out into and amongst the trees.
No. Lorna is going to grab Skolna by the shoulders and cast Protection from Good and Evil, which gives her advantage on saving throws if she's already charmed.
Okay? I need you, as you follow them, to make another wisdom saving throw.
Ugh. Is this harassment? 23 again. Lorna's like, no! Stop it!
You don't have advantage on this,
Why not?
because
Is it
this
a
isn't a
charm?
charm effect.
Never mind.
This is
Well, it was the
something
first
else.
roll, which is still a 23, because it was the first roll.
Okay. As you feel the trees swaying around you, you manage to keep track of where you are, where they are, and where the trail was. You cast that on them, so she's going to roll again.
Mm-hmm.
She's not
She has
rolling
advantage.
well. No change. The dance is unaltered, unpaused.
Lorna, frustrated, casts Dispel Magic, which is a much higher spell slot.
I don't know if that would work here.
I'm so pissed if it doesn't.
A moment. As you begin to cast the spell, a face appears in front of you. A woman, barely. Mostly it's as though she's made of bark, and you can see there are cracks in the bark where she looks completely hollow. You can see the inside of the bark on the other side of her body as she peers out from around a tree. What are you doing here?
Trying to help my friends. They are not themselves, and I don't think they'd appreciate not being themselves.
I did not choose this for them.
Well, whatever did, it doesn't matter. I'm trying to get them back.
But I'm lonely. Can you not understand?
I can, but you need to ask permission
Won't you?
before you make someone dance.
Won't you? I am not making them dance. Won't you and your friends just stay this night with me?
If you let them go, we may consider it.
I have let them go.
They're still in my sight, right? I haven't been distracted.
They're right in front of you.
Good. Sorry, did my Dispel Magic just... It didn't work? Whatever's happening.
Nothing
it
happened.
wasn't.
It didn't do anything to them.
Well, they're still in front of me, so she's going to tap Nore and give her protection against good and evil, because Skolna is clearly not fighting this hard enough.
Okay. I will say Nore has a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have advantage?
Yes.
Okay. I need to check the DC. She fails. But just barely.
Miss, what is making them dance?
The forest.
Do you have any sway over that fact?
I could ask it to stop, but it does not always listen to me. And I wouldn't.
What could I do to convince you to make it stop? To ask it to stop?
I would wish you all to stay with me for just the night. Roll me an
One
Arcana check.
Evening?
Roll me an Arcana check.
Oh my god. I'm gonna use my Vicar's boon to boost that with a D10.
Okay.
14.
This is not... Okay, so what you're looking at is a Hollowthorn Dryad, which is not
Uh-huh.
a typical Dryad. a typical dryad is all about tricking people into just staying with them. This is not a typical dryad. You remember they're different, but you cannot remember how.
Useful.
It can be.
One standard amaranth evening.
Yes. One night.
Inside.
One cycle. A passing of Luminous and Astrus. And once they are gone, so too will I.
Insight.
Roll insight.
Much better. 25.
She seems sincere.
I will agree if you ask the forest to get them to stop dancing.
I will ask.
Please.
You see the dryad's form sink back into the tree. And then suddenly it's as though all of the limbs of the trees above you, all of the branches and boughs begin to twist and turn, as if swaying in the wind aggressively. Seeds and needles and leaves all fall around you and everyone else, and it is a harrowing feeling as though the entire canopy of this entire forest rains down to the ground around you with this loud of all of these particulates falling to the ground. The music does not stop. Skolna and Nore continue to slowly waltz through the trees, their feet dodging the delicate and difficult roots as though they've known they were always there. At this moment, Anscombe, Lilith, and Tierra have pushed through the trees behind you, and Anscombe says, "Where did you go?"
There's a dryad, and it couldn't convince the forest to stop making them dance.
You've been gone for like 30 minutes.
I didn't feel like that much time had passed.
Anscombe
I
sees
just want to
these
break
two.
them out of this daze because, at the very least, I know Skolna's going to be furious.
Roll me a perception check.
Natural 20.
With
26.
with a natural 20, you feel a flicker. It's a strange feeling. As though there's no, like, the forest around you hiccuped. And the dryad steps out of another tree. And she fully steps out this time. Still looking like a hollow bark person. Though now that she's fully out in the daylight, you see that she is fully formed, with like hair made of moss and lichen. But it's perfectly symmetrical. It looks as though she was modeled after a person, or maybe modeled around a person.
Dark.
A bit. And as she looks at you, and Anscombe, and Lilith, and Tyr, "I'm sorry. The trees are lonely. They will not listen."
And I ask, this isn't right.
Do you know how?
Can you show me?
No. You are not born of the woods. You were not born here. They will not listen.
And I'll just have to keep trying my way.
She's going to tap Nore and try again. Protection from evil and
You cast it
good.
again? Okay. She tries to save again. She has advantage, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. On the second roll of that advantage, suddenly Nore, like, blinks. And she looks down. Oh. And she realizes she's holding Skolna's hands. And Skolna's
Yep.
looking up at the treetops. What?
Before we get into that, can you please help me snap Skolna out of this?
What happened? I need,
Trees make dance.
As Nore realizes that she's been charmed, and she sees Skolna is charmed into a dance, Skolna steps back, she pulls the lyre, and she begins playing a counter charm.
Thank you.
The instant she does,
Lorna holds on to Skolna so she doesn't go away. He's like holding on to like her coat.
Skolna comes out of it as well. Her hands were still extended as though she was dancing, and then they drop to her sides, and she looks around.
I'm sorry it took a moment, but we finally broke the charm.
She is looking back and forth. What happened?
This forest enchanted you and Nore, and it took a few tries, but it finally worked. Well, Nore broke you out of it.
Skolna looks at Nore, who's still playing the counter charm. Okay.
And we might have to spend the evening here because of this dryad.
Lorna looks over her shoulder.
The Dryad is not there.
Okay. Well,
As Tier resists the effects of something, he suddenly looks up and he says, I'd like to go. Can we go
Let's
now?
go. Yes. Let's go.
Your team starts to hastily move, and as it does, roll me a d8.
Fuck these woods. 7.
Roll me another wisdom save. You have advantage because of the counter charm.
Great.
You have advantage anyway, but...
30, 20.
Okay.
Fuck these woods. I will throw a fireball, I swear to God.
There's a moment during Nore's song, which is cutting through any noise the tree is making. Nore has begun to play the lyre impressively loudly. And you realize she must be augmenting it with a thaumaturgy or something, because it is resounding, and it's hard to hear anything else. There's a moment in between notes that she plucks that there's a pause. And you look back at Nore, and her eyes are closed, and it looks like she's about to put the lyre down, and then she shakes her head, and she keeps playing.
thank you.
It's Fae bullshit.
Yeah,
And
let's just get out of the area.
You run. You get far enough that even over the counter charm, you can tell the music is behind you. You've escaped the grasp of a Hollowthorn Dryad.
Oh. How is Skolna looking? I figured she might have a particular aversion to being controlled by
Roll an
something.
insight check.
Considering her history. Or not, you trash person. 11.
She's hard to read,
Yeah.
but you think she might be embarrassed.
Oh.
She definitely has a flush around her face. And her normal, like, very careful, low posture is now just looks like her eyes are downcast. You continue into the forest.
Mm-hmm.
As you make your way, heading northwards. Let's see here. I need you to roll me one more d4.
Okay.
4.
Four. Okay.
That's right.
Roll me a D100. A D-hundy.
1D hundy. 36.
36. Okay. A moment, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, this requires me to pull something in. All right. As you're running, or rather, you stop running after a while once you feel secure and getting away from that particular section of the trees, and it's getting darker. Roll me a perception check, please.
Okay. 16.
You're getting into wilder sections of the forest. Much less traveled, much less tame. Places where game trails suddenly split apart as if the creatures that you're following the paths of were unsettled here. And the paths that they normally follow to the nearest water or food is erratic and strange. Your feet suddenly become difficult to see the ground around because there is a low mist around your ankles and knees. It's unusually thick and silvery. And with that perception check, you spot as if the echoes of other footsteps in the mist. As if someone else is walking through the mist, but there is nobody there.
If I ignore it, will it go away?
Just like your engine light.
Yep. My magic eyeballs. Do I see someone? Anything magic?
What does magic eyeballs mean?
Sorry, it's my detect magic at will.
There is magic in the air, but you cannot tell what school. You just know that there is a magical effect. The weave is twisting as if something is altering the air around your ankles and the rest of the forest floor. But it doesn't look like it's guided, if that makes sense.
Lorna points it out to the party and just says, let's just keep going.
Roll me an Arcana check as you do that.
Just don't stop. 25.
With a 25, you think you have encountered natural, chaotic, wild magic.
Oh shit. Is that bad? Is that good? Is that neutral?
It doesn't mean anything good or bad unless you try and perform magic in it.
Okay. I will not do that.
You're pretty sure with your
Keep your spells to yourself.
education in the arcane, when you're around wild magic and you try and cast a spell, the wild magic can alter the foundations of those spells. Either changing the spell subtly, completely altering it, or making additional effects occur when a spell is cast.
Uh-huh. Doesn't seem like it's worth the risk.
You also know, with that high arcana roll, this mist is not mist. It is the ephemera and ether of the ethereal.
Ooh.
As you're having these thoughts, as you see it and you're moving, suddenly, ahead of you, you are keenly aware of a willow tree. Or, when it moves, you realize it is not a willow tree.
Jeez.
It is a spectral creature that resembles a willow tree. And as you're looking at it, you realize it has a woman's face nestled between the long limbs and branches.
What? Do I know what that is?
Roll a religion check.
Oh no. It's a much scarier question than I anticipated. No, I have no idea. It's a 9.
You don't know what it is.
Lorna just says, what is that?
Asking your party. Let's find out. Oh. Norre says, it's a Morn Willow Wraith.
What is that?
Someone who gave their life to guard this place.
Oh. Will it hurt us?
Your whole party has like stopped and is looking at this thing, and Norre says, only if we're a threat, or it
Which
considers
we're
us
not.
one.
Oh, we're just passing through.
That
Let's
might
keep
be
moving.
the threat.
Passing through?
I think we should go wide around.
Lorna follows that lead. Absolutely. She's not going to defer from that. Great suggestion.
As soon as you begin to like go around it, you suddenly see the mist around your ankles farther like behind you, like 10 feet behind you. It coalesces into ghostly wolves that stalk you.
Let's keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
Your whole party is like looking at this wraith that is watching you. It's not following you, but it is turning to watch you as you move. And these wolves that are just silently padding along right behind you. And you cannot help but hear the occasional, it's not like they're actually there, it's like the echo or the memory of a wolf like sniffing. But it's unsettling.
Huh?
Uh,
I mean, Lorna's pretty used to having a ghost hound. So they're just scarier requiems.
As you make it clear, as you're going around the tree, you hear, every member of your party hears, return unbidden to the heart of this forest, and you shall join the wolves in eternal vigil.
Sorry.
If you continue on this path away from the willow wraith,
Right, and Lorna's gonna urge Tier to mark on the map so we never get near this fucking place again.
okay.
This one. On the way back, we're not
Right.
coming here.
You're right. Of course we know. What the fuck is here? Tier makes a note, and you narrowly avoid an encounter with the Morn Willow Wraith.
These are some dangerous fucking woods.
I think I told you that. Didn't I tell you that? It's Kim's
I'm
like
sorry.
scratching in his chin, like, I feel like I mentioned, this would be dicey.
Literally last night we were just drinking and eating and it was great, and now it's just been bullshit after bullshit.
Yeah. These woods are bullshit.
Noted. I've learned this through experience now.
It's gonna get worse, too. Like, there's more shit out here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, these are the scary stories that I grew up with, all right? Like, and I didn't even know that existed. He, like, gestures to the ghost tree thing. Yeah, this has been a whole lot of nonsense I didn't like, so don't say you weren't warned.
I will never.
And now you wonder why the forest is not my, studied terrain because it's full of shit you can't see around every corner.
Lorna does not dignify that with a response.
Yeah, all right. He continues to grumble. And as the suns are setting, he says, right, we are not traveling through these trees at night, okay? We're finding a place to camp
Fair enough.
first. Holy
Lorna
shit.
jots down in her journal that she needs to find a tiny hut spell. To learn.
Tierra begins to search for a suitable campsite. He rolls a 16. So he does create a location for you to camp. And conveniently, it looks like every other campsite.
Hooray!
Because that is the campsite splasher. There is a stream nearby, so this works out. And as you settle in to try and relax and recover from your first day out into the Rimwood, which has been just a mess.
Plagued with trial.
It is a key into the wilds of the Rimwood that this is going to be dicey.
Mm-hmm.
And is with that anxiety that your party is feeling, looking out over their trees, seeing ghostly wolves peering and then disappearing, is where we're going to call it for tonight's session.
Leave me alone.
I hope you had a good time, and thank you for playing with me. And everyone who is at home or at work watching, we love you all. Hi, Pen. Hi, Emily. Hi, Class.
And
Hi,
Emily.
Sal.
Hi, Class. And Sal. And everyone else.
We love you all, and I wish you a good night.